Daniel Gravius was a missionary to this island and translated texts into the local Siraya language. The 1907 Beipu and 1930 Musha incidents were uprisings on this island against a colonial ruler. The 17th century kingdom of Tungning on this island hoped to restore the Ming dynasty to power. This island, previously called Formosa, saw the 1950 arrival of the Kuomintang with their leader Chiang Kai-shek. The People's Republic claimed sovereignty over, for 10 points, what island off China's southeast coast? And the answer is Taiwan. Juntos is a program in this country that pays money to rural families each month to incentivize them to attend school and get regular health checkups. In November 2016, one city in this country witnessed protests against the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, in which 21 world leaders met in this country soon after. This nation's April 2016 presidential election saw Keiko Fujimori lose the vote to Pedro Pablo Kuczynski. This country's Communist Party is better known as the Shining Path and has been the source of internal conflict since the late 1960s. For 10 points, name this South American nation governed from Lima. And the answer is Peru. This country became a democracy after its communist Derg regime ended, and Roman Catholicism became its dominant religion under Susenyos I. This nation's decentralized Zemene Mesafint, or Era of the Princes, concluded when Tewodros II came to power. Menelik II restored the power of this country in which the Aksum Empire ruled. This nation was supposedly home to the Queen of Sheba, and its Solomonic dynasty included Haile Selassie I. The Amhara make up a significant portion of this country's people. For 10 points, identify this African nation whose largest city is Addis Ababa. And the answer is Ethiopia. A religion integrating the traditional Bantu, Fon, and Yoruba beliefs, known as Candomblé, was brought to this country by slaves. But slavery in this country was later abolished in a movement that began with the passage of the Law of the Free Womb. President Juscelino Kubitschek employed Lucio Costa and Oscar Niemeyer to design and construct a new capital for this country, whose independence was previously declared in the Cry of Ipiranga speech. Getulio Vargas began the Estado Novo period to lengthen his rule in this country, and rights to it were given to Portugal by the Treaty of Tordesillas. For 10 points, name this largest South American country. And the answer is Brazil. The first major land battle of this war was fought at Yatai and included a capture of Corrientes. This war emerged out of a conflict involving the Colorados and the Blancos in a country led by Atanasio Aguirre, and Pedro II entrusted military command of his forces to the Duke of Cache during this war. This war, which began with an invasion of Mato Grosso, ended at the Battle of Cerro Cora after the death of President Francisco Solano Lopez. For 10 points, name this bloodiest South American war in which Paraguay was defeated by a coalition of Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay. And the answer is War of the Triple Alliance. Along with its Tibetan and Karluk allies, this dynasty suppressed expansion of the Tang dynasty at the Battle of Talas. This caliphate, which built the Al-Uqaidar fortress in Karbala, experienced internal conflict and the rapid succession of 4 caliphs in 9 years during the anarchy at Samarra. This dynasty rose to prominence after its army defeated Marwan II at the Battle of the Zab, and it saw advances in algebra by al-Khwarizmi and optics by Ibn al-Haytham. This caliphate had a large influence in Sunni Islam until forces led by Hulagu Khan destroyed its capital of Baghdad. For 10 points, name this successor of the Umayyad Caliphate centered at Baghdad. And the answer is the Abbasid Caliphate. One of this man's prime ministers was killed in the May 15th incident shortly after an attempted assassination attempt involving a grenade thrown at his carriage. This leader discovered several species of hydrozoa while studying marine biology, and he was pictured with Douglas MacArthur shortly after he renounced his divinity in the Declaration of Humanity. This man announced his country's surrender in the Jewel Voice broadcast after the bombing of Nagasaki, and his country used the Mukden incident to invade Manchuria during his rule, beginning a war with China. For 10 points, name this man who was served by Hideki Tojo while he was Japan's emperor during World War II. And the answer is Emperor Hirohito. This leader's father, Sin Mubalit, expanded the power of this leader's state by conquering Borsippa and Kish. During the first Amorite dynasty, this man defeated an alliance of Ashur, Elam, and Eshnunna. This ruler declared that if a mistake was found in the verdict of a judge, the judge would have to pay 12-fold the fine he charged. This man's most famous writing was found on a black stela in Susa in 1901 and is based on the Lex Talonius. This man created a text that calls for punishments such as cutting off the fingers of a son if he strikes his father and an eye for an eye. For 10 points, name this Babylonian ruler who created the first known law code. And the answer is Hammurabi. The Three Kingdoms of Korea period was ended by a war between the Goguryeo and this dynasty. Like its predecessor, this dynasty abandoned the 9-rank system and instituted a self-rule system called Jimi. By many accounts, the only female emperor ever interrupted this dynasty, which was attacked by a rebellion that led to the execution of Yang Guifei, one of the Four Beauties. Emperor Zhuangzhang led this dynasty to its greatest extent, though he would later be attacked by a northern Sadagan general in the An Lushan rebellion. This dynasty was founded by Emperor Gaozi and featured poets like Du Fu and Li Po in its golden age. For 10 points, name this Chinese dynasty that lasted from 718 to 907 AD between the Sui and Song dynasties. And the answer is the Tang dynasty. In his accounts of the customs of this country, Zhou Daguan recorded that its people only wore a piece of cloth at the waist and lived in homes without furniture. In 1177, the Champa sacked the capital of a polity located primarily in this country, Longvek, and that empire was founded by Jayavarman II. After leading a coup attempt against Norodom Sihanouk, Lon Nol became the president of a certain party in this country, which came to power following Year Zero. Victims of a genocide in this country were buried in several killing fields. For 10 points, name this Southeast Asian country home to Angkor Wat, where Pol Pot once led the Khmer Rouge. And the answer is Kingdom of Cambodia.